Hello, everyone, and welcome to our initial segment of Tipoff 2024-2025. Dr. Ron Poniewasz and Professor Larry Kelly sit in on your Tipoff segments here this year. Award-winning Tipoff, that is. And Larry Kelly is a member of the Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George law firm, which sponsors our podcast. And he's also a former Shenango varsity baseball coach and a current assistant coach on Penn State Shenango's baseball team, and he is sitting on Ralph Blundow's bench, although he wasn't on the bench the night that I was at the field house.
Well, I've been in absentia for the last about 2 weeks because, as you know, Mr. Poniewasz, I am currently in the cast of the musical Annie that is being performed at the Newcastle Playhouse. Actually, we got another weekend of performances. Starting Thursday this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 7:30 curtain, and Sunday 2 o'clock. And if I may give a little plug, Brady Flamino, who is the director, has done a wonderful job. Leanne Felina, the producer, and present company excluded, the talent is unbelievable. And I'm playing the role of FDR. So Coach Blundo gave me a pass for 2 weeks. Not that he misses me, even though he said he did. I'm pursuing another career in my later years.
Yeah, like I told him after the game, I says, I heard that we're getting the band back together. I'm here. Ralph's here. Where's the rest of the band? Apparently, we're not getting the band back together.
What did he say? I'm afraid to ask.
No, he just laughed. He understood what I was talking about. We went about our way.
Well, I mean, I got a 2 week, 2 week vacation.
Kind of like I had with you after football season ended.
Yeah, you were in absentia also. So, right. I was on sabbatical for 2 weeks at Newcastle Hoops. But I'll be back tomorrow. We play Beaver Falls.
All right. Very, very good. That's a big one down at Beaver Falls. Always fun to go down to Beaver Falls for basketball, that's for sure. For our season opening show this week, we have a young lady that performed very well for her team in a few games last week. And we're going to talk about some teams that are off to a really strong start during this early segment of the basketball season, this pre-New Year portion of the season, before things really ramp up at the flip of the calendar. But let's start with athlete of the week, and that is Newcastle senior forward, 5'8" forward, Rihanna Boice. And last week she had 19 points and 8 rebounds in a 59-1 win over Northgate. That is not a misspeak. 59-1. Next game, 24 points and 8 rebounds in a 48-2 win over Ambridge. Notice the other team's getting a little bit more in the scoring column there, not much. And 18 points and 7 rebounds in a 52-22 win over Shenango. 3 very nice performances, Larry, for Rihanna Boice.
Well, before we started the show, I asked Rihanna if this was the sister of Isaiah Boice, who played for Newcastle for 4 years and is now continuing his collegiate basketball career. And you told me that she did. So, no surprise, Isaiah Boice, I had him on my 9th grade team, one of the best I ever had. And I had some good ones come through that program. But Isaiah was special. And it looks like Rihanna is following in her brother's footsteps, because I don't care who you're playing, to put up those kind of numbers in 3 consecutive games is very impressive and certainly worthy of being athlete of the week. And it looks like the Lady Canes are having a good year.
Yeah, they're 4-1 right now. Only loss was to Riverside, playing a double duty on the court, so to speak. A week ago Saturday, they played. They had a regularly scheduled game and kind of an impromptu game against Riverside. That's the game they lost, was to Riverside. But she's not only doing it in the scoring column there, Larry. It's rebounds too, and she's really close to a double-double each game.
Oh, she's had 23 rebounds in 3 games. That's a lot of rebounds. That's a lot of boards. And, we've had this discussion a lot, Ronnie. When I'm looking at statistics, I'm sometimes more impressed with your ability to rebound the basketball than I am for you to score it. And This young lady's doing both. And, it's important. You got to rebound the ball. You have to rebound your own, and you out rebound the other team. There's a pretty good chance you're going to win.
59-1. That really gets takes your attention for sure.
Well, you know what though, Ron, what I've learned, and my daughters, four of them played high school basketball, and I actually coached it. I helped coach the junior high team when I was down at Riverside. There's a lot of mismatches in the women's game. A lot of mismatches, and that obviously was a mismatch. And Ambridge obviously was a mismatch. But when you have two quality girls basketball teams on the floor, they're really, really good games. I enjoy the women's game. They really run good stuff. Very few women players can create off the dribble. And so they have to run good offensive plays. They have to execute. And when they do, it's basketball in its purest form. So it's nice to see Newcastle start off, on the good side of the ledger. And it looks like they're going to be heard from this season.
Northgate banked in a free throw with about 3 minutes to go in the game. That was their lone point. Not long after that, they had a field goal hit literally the top part of the backboard, very top part. It bounced up, hit a support beam, one of the cables, went right through for a field goal. Referee, no good. Waved it off.
I might have given it to him. When the score's 59-1, I might have given it to him. It's just me. You know what I mean? But nobody, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. Not in a high school game.
Trick shot. Can't even, now that's a good shot for horse, the game of horse. And
yeah.
Waved it off.
I'm going to bank it off the support beam on the top of the hoop. Go ahead, match that one.
Yeah.
But I'm anxious to see Rihanna play. I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. And again, if she's anything like her brother, Isaiah, she's a hooper, because Isaiah, as I said, was one of the best I've ever had.
And she's a senior, playing very well so far through the first 5 games of the year. Rihanna Boice, she's our athlete of the week. Our second athlete of the week this year. The first one was Lucas Stanley from the week prior. And in that athlete of the week, Lucas Stanley, his very first performance, he had two games that first weekend, Friday and Saturday. Both of them were 35 points. The first 35-point performance, he surpassed the 1,000-point plateau for his career.
I think there's been a Stanley playing at Union High School for at least 40 years. There's been one on the roster for at least 40 years. And is he the son of the coach? Or a nephew? He's the son, which doesn't surprise me, because the coach was a heck of a player himself.
Well, see, that's how we know that we're in basketball, because if we were in football, you would have said there's been a Stanley playing basketball since as far back as the Roosevelt administration.
Well, I'm playing FDR, so I know all about the Roosevelt administration. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself, Ronnie.
Okay. All right. Well, that ends athlete of the week. Maybe we can get him a little bit back on course on the next segment. I was going to tell him, make sure he turns in the wig when he's done.
The sun will come up tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Annie at the Playhouse this weekend. Don't miss it. I'll buy you a ticket, Ronnie.
Yeah, you can save your money. We've went from 5 viewers to maybe a half. All right. So we got our talking points next, and we'll put Larry to the test. We'll tell him all about what's been going on with our local teams, and he'll give his input. And we'll do that next right here on Tipoff.
We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for personal injury cases involving automobile accidents and workers' compensation claims for over 90 years. At LGKG, over 10,000 clients have trusted us to represent them. We know how to present your case to a Western Pennsylvania jury. We know what makes them tick. We know how to win.
We're back with you here on Tip-Off. This is week 2 of the basketball season as we're getting going. Basketball season is always a little bit disjointed. You have the tip-off tournaments, and then you get to settle in for about a week or two, and then you have the holiday tournaments, and then right from there you go right into more or less section play. So it's kind of like a hiccup, a little bit with all the stuff. That's got to be tough on coaches.
Actually, Newcastle, we play North Hills on Friday, if I'm not mistaken, and that's our first section game. So the section games start a lot earlier than they used to be. You used to be able to get 5, 6, 7 preseason, non-section games in before you started league play. Not anymore. Newcastle, we will have played 4 games, and before we get into real play.
I wonder if that was the quote unquote power move of starting the season, at the very tail end of November.
Don't know. That's a great question, Ronnie. I don't know the answer to that question.
All right, I have highlighted about 5 teams for us to talk about. First off, we're going to talk about the Laurel Boys. These records reflect prior to play on Monday night, December 9th. Laurel Boys are 3-1 this year, and through their first 3 games, which was a 3-0 record, the boys had a scoring differential of plus 134.
Ooh.
And they were 3-0 in those games. Jaden Iorio has scored a total of 67 points in those 4 games. So they're off to a really nice start, Larry. And this is on the heels of a 2-20 season.
Yeah, that's turning it around. I'm not familiar with their roster, but I'm guessing last year they were playing with the same guys who were underclassmen. Mm-hmm. And as we've said, and I've said all along, in high school sports, freshmen and sophomores normally don't beat juniors and seniors. Not only is it the experience factor, but the size of your body, the development of your athleticism over those course of 4 years is tremendous. There's a big difference between a senior and a freshman, mm-hmm. body-wise.
We'll touch on a little bit on the Newcastle girls. We did so a little bit in the Athlete of the Week. The girls' defense, not only winning games, but the defense, allowing 1 point against Northgate, 2 points against Ambridge. They have 2 other wins against Shenango. The first one on opening night, and then they played them literally a week later. And as Kara DiNardo Joseph mentioned, that she did notice the improvement that Shenango made in that week of time. But Newcastle girls, Larry, what does that say about a team that can play that good a defense over the course of 4 quarters for 2 straight games?
It's impressive. I mean, you got to be able to make stops, to win against good competition, and I didn't see the Riverside game. I don't know, what that looked like, but you got to be able to make stops. And my feeling was you got to be able to create points off your defense, whether it's a full court press or a half court trap. It's hard to come down against a set defense and get good shots every time down. You got to get some easy ones. And it sounds like Newcastle is doing just that. Mm-hmm. They're able to create some points from their defense. That's what good teams do. And I've watched a boatload of women's basketball through the years, because as I said, I had 4 daughters who played, and they're really good teams. They'll press you full court, half court. They get steals. They'll create easy opportunities from their defense. It sounds like that's what Newcastle's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Over to the other team that occupies the Newcastle High Fieldhouse, and that's the Newcastle Boys. They are 3-0 heading into tomorrow night's game against Beaver Falls. Kai Cox scored 28 points in an 84-52 win over Warren John F. Kennedy. He has 61 total points. Just a freshman. He looks the part, Larry. You can tell that he's going to be a talent.
What I like about Kai is his basketball IQ. This young man makes the right play every time down the court, whether it's a kick out for a 3-point shot, whether it's him finishing around the rim, whether him making a jump shot in the lane, pulling up, hitting a little floater. He makes the right play, and he makes the right play every time down. And normally when you're dealing with freshmen at the varsity level, it's their inability to make the right play with the ball in their hands that is the biggest factor in their inability to have success and allow their teammates to have success. Kai creates for himself, but he also creates for his teammates. And that's really going to be beneficial to little Ralphie Blando. Last year, Ralph had a double team on almost every time he touched the ball. Well, you can't do that anymore because you do that and Kai Cox is going to score 28. And then if he doesn't get you, then Damian Harrison's going to get you. So they've been playing really good offensive basketball and sharing the ball and doing all the little things. And the other thing that we're doing, we're back to who we are. Before the season started, I told Coach Blando, Coach, I wasn't at a lot of games last year, but I watched them. I watched every one stream. I said, we become a different team. We're not, our culture was to put pressure on the other team, pick them up full court, and even if you don't get a steal, make the opponent play faster than they're comfortable in playing. Well, that's what we're doing this year, Ronnie. And, we haven't been tested yet. And we're not going to get tested tomorrow night. Beaver Falls is struggling. But we're going to get tested on Friday when we got North Hill. So I like what I see. It could really be good. And I'm not allowed to say that. Coach Blando tells me I'm not allowed to say too many good things about our team. But I like what I see.
All right. Ralphie Blando has scored, I don't have it right in front of me. I'm trying to go by memory. I believe 56 points on the season through those 3 games. You mentioned Damian Harrison. He has been in double figures for all 3 games. Kyrell Harris has also played very well for that team. The only thing that I wish, if I could steal one of your lines and be the czar of the world, is if Kai Cox were a freshman like he is and Ralphie was maybe a freshman or sophomore, where they could play together for a good couple years and see their development over the course of time, and then see what they could produce over maybe a 3-year stretch or something like that.
Listen, I think they're going to produce a lot this year, and Kyrell has been playing really well also. He's come off a really, really good football season. Kyrell is going to be the point guard. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot this year, and his maturity level is going to be a big, big benefit for us because Kyrell has to make the right play too, and he's been doing that. And he's quick as a cat and great hands. And we got a couple of guys, Nate McKnight coming off the bench. Chase Lemon coming off the bench. Jaden Schaefer, our 5. We're playing good. We're playing good basketball, and I know that you were told. I think Chipper told you the other day that we may be deeper than we ever have, and that may be true. We can go 7-8 deep without worrying about who's in the game.
Yeah. Okay, we have the Union girls basketball team. Tonight they beat Rochester 55-50. Rochester battled back in the 4th quarter and made it a game, but Union won 55-50. Union now is 3-0. They had 2 other games that were probably eventually going to be ultimately canceled, I guess. That was at the Harbor Creek tournament this past weekend. And if you know anything about Harbor Creek, the area, they had 60 inches of snow about a week and a half ago.
Oh, my God. It must be up there around Erie.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is probably about 4 or 5 days before that, that's when before this tournament was scheduled, maybe a little bit more, that's when they had all that snow. Thinking, are you going to cancel this tournament at some point? You're not going to get a Hawaii heat wave, and melt it all. And I just don't understand the move to wait until literally the day of or the day before to cancel that tournament. But, as far as I know, there's not going to be a Hawaii heat wave coming anytime soon and melting all that snow.
Yeah, and I'm sure, is Coach Nogue still out at Union?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure he wanted to play those games. It's important to get as many games under your belt before you start league play as you can. It's really important, to work out the kinks, to fix the mistakes that are being made, both offensively and defensively, and to get the games on film and then to go over them with your team. It's really important. That's something that we do at Newcastle, and quite frankly, I think we do it better than anybody I've ever seen. We study game film.
Right. The Neshannock girls are now 4-0. They played 2 games on Saturday, not one. They played 2. The second game was against Quaker Valley in the quote unquote the clash at Newcastle, one of those showcases. I'm not fond of showcases by any stretch.
You're not fond of anything, but I'll let that go.
They play Quaker Valley again real soon here. I don't have the date in front of me. I just don't understand that. Playing Quaker Valley on Saturday and then you turn around and you're going to play Quaker Valley again, the Neshannock girls.
Is it a league game against Quaker Valley?
I don't believe so. But to play 2 games on a Saturday when you already have your tournament, they had the second game of the Lakeview tournament, I believe, booked, and then they got slotted into the clash or whatever. That's got to be tough on those young ladies, and they've already played, I think, 2 overtime games, including an overtime game Friday night. So you're coming off of an overtime game, getting up early, go up to Lakeview, come home, sit around for a little bit, have a bite to eat. Oh, got to go across town to Newcastle, play another game, and there was a threat of overtime in that first game on Saturday.
You know, it's not easy, but these kids are used to that, Ronnie. AAU basketball, you're playing in an AAU event. You may play 3 games in a day. So they're used to it, but there's some fatigue factor, that plays into the outcome. It's not easy, but they're used to it. It's something that's done in the AAU season every weekend.
Do they shorten are AAU games the equivalent of high school games in terms of time, or are they 8-minute quarters, or are they a little bit abbreviated?
It depends, it depends on the game. Sometimes they'll go 2 20-minute halves, but they give you your money's worth. You're playing a full game.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The Wilmington girls tonight, we'll mention them as well. I believe they're now 3-0 after defeating Mohawk and first-year Lady Warriors coach Lindsay Bell. Wilmington wins tonight 78-14. And that game was not even as close as the final score indicates. Wilmington scored the first 23 points of the game. Wilmington, boy, I tell you what, you do not want to step on the train tracks in front of the Wilmington girls basketball team. They're really good.
Okay. Do they have Neshannock on their schedule this year? That'd be a great old Tri-County matchup. Let's see those 2 teams go at it. Because, again, you got to test yourself early in the season. In my view, it's not helpful beating a team by 40 points. It's more beneficial being tested going into overtime, see what players can really execute when the pressure gets really, really high. And but unfortunately, in the girls' game, you see a lot of blowouts. You just do. And I don't know what Wilmington. Obviously, they got a very good team. I don't know if they played any really good competition yet or what their scores have looked like, but it's a different ball game when you're going into the fourth quarter in a tie game as compared to starting the game 0-0 and scoring the first 23 points of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wilmington, what they have done very consistently this year, even in just a 3-game stretch, has been getting out of the gate pretty well. Tonight they scored, I think it was 32 points in the first quarter. That's really good for an NBA.
That's a big time first quarter. Well, is it Coach Jekovic? Didn't he go from the men's side to the women's side? Mm-hmm. So my man, he's coached up enough teams to know, how to do it. And I would say he's turned the women's program around at Wilmington because they weren't having this type of success a few years ago. In fact, we had a big discussion as to whether or not they should have opted out to the playoffs when they didn't have a 500 record.
Yeah, well, that's Mike Jekovic, head coach at Wilmington. Yeah, he's doing a very good job. We're going to hear a lot about the Wilmington girls basketball program this season for sure. Expect a deep run in the district playoffs and most likely the state playoffs as well.
That would be great to see. Been a long time, I think, since Wilmington's had a long run, in the district and or state playoffs in the girls' game. Any
other teams that you want to touch on, Larry, that we didn't talk about? We didn't mention the Union boys. However, we did mention Lucas Stanley surpassing the 1,000 point plateau. They are undefeated as well. Tonight they're playing down at Freedom. And
I might want to mention the Shannock. They won their tournament, and Coach Corey got his 300th win. That's a lot of wins. high school coaches don't stick around 5, 10, 15 years anymore. And Coach Corey's been there more than 10, does a great job. And the reason they don't stick around is the time commitment. We've had this discussion. You want to be championship caliber, it's 10 months a year. And if you're not willing to be there 10 months a year, you're taking time away from your family, your wife, your kids. You're not going to have the type of success that Coach Corey has, Coach Belundo has, and some of the other coaches around the area. Coach Nogue, I'm not so sure Coach Luann Gabra, excuse me, Coach Luann doesn't go 12 months a year.
Yeah.
Grabowski.
There you
I'm
go.
having a hard time tonight getting the words out. I'm not so sure Coach Grabowski doesn't go 12 months a year, because when the season, I know she goes to Florida after the season for a month. So she's probably going 11 months a year. And she coaches the junior high teams. She coaches these kids AAU in the summer. And that's why Neshannock in the girls' game is what they are. You've got to be willing to pay that price as a coach and as a player. Mm-hmm. And if you're not winning championships, my friend.
That's why she's known as Coach G right there.
Yeah. And I've known Luann and her family for 70 years. So I apologize, Luann. I can't get it out tonight.
She's a great coach, that's for sure. Luann Grabowski at Neshannock, and she's trending toward 800 wins. She passed 700 a couple years ago. She's not quite there yet. Maybe another good season and a half or so, somewhere around there. She's around 750 something.
How many years has Luann been coaching?
Quite a few. I couldn't tell you exactly how many, but quite a few. 20.
Yeah. More than 40. I know that.
Okay, 40. Yeah,
I would say that. And again, the commitment is really exacting on all other aspects of your life. It just is.
Definitely over 20 some when you consider at Newcastle and at Neshannock her two most recent stops, for sure.
Well, more than 20, I think.
Right.
When she started at Aliquippa, I believe. And so
just in her most recent stop. So
absolutely. Yeah. And that's why she wins. She's willing to pay the price, and she's created a culture where the players know, if you're not willing to pay the price, go down to Y and play. That's what I used to tell my kids. Listen, if you're not willing to pay the price to be a Newcastle basketball player and wear the Red Hurricane jersey, then go down to Y and play.
Right. All right. I know prior to us going on, you were talking to Pete Sirianni about Dick Allen. I'm sure you want to give a shout out to your boy Dick Allen.
I'm really happy for the family. Nick, one of the staff writers at the News, called me for my comments. I gave him Dick Allen's brother's telephone number. I think he's going to get some comments from Ronnie. Look, I've said this before, and I said it in my column. The facts are the facts. Dick Allen is a Hall of Famer. That's not an opinion. That's a statistical fact. He has Hall of Fame numbers for a 10, 12-year span. He was the best hitter in baseball. Mm-hmm. His OPS plus and all of the other analytic factors that you can combine were better than Willie Mays, better than Henry Aaron, better than Joe DiMaggio. And probably the only reason that he wasn't in is, he was a proud man who, back in the early 60s when racial tension was still really high, wouldn't stand to be undermined. And I respect that. And as a result, his relationship with the press wasn't great, but he deserves it. Dick Allen is a Hall of Famer. That's not my opinion. That's now a fact.
This probably falls under more of the your brainchild of good cop, bad cop. But your opinion, yes or no? Ryan Braun, is he a Hall of Famer withstanding his PED stuff? The numbers that he put up, is Ryan Braun a Hall of Famer?
I'd have to look at the numbers, but at first blush, I say no.
Really?
At first blush, I'd say no, but I'd have to look at his numbers. He didn't have an OPS of over 1,000 4 or 5 times like Dick Allen did. So don't even go there. Don't even go there.
Dick Allen, 351 career home runs. Ryan Braun, 352 home runs.
That's not the only statistic that counts, though, my friend.
I have more.
Go ahead.
Dick Allen, 1,848 career hits. Ryan Braun, 1,936 hits.
Go ahead.
That's 2 categories to none for Ryan Braun. Dick Allen, 1,119 career RBIs. Ryan Braun, 1,152 RBIs. That is now 3 categories for Braun. Dick Allen, a career lifetime 292 batting average. Ryan Braun, a career batting average of 296.
Well, then maybe he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. I didn't know those stats. Ryan Braun was drafted by Jack Zarenzik. And, here's what made Dick Allen different. And I'm going back to my column from 64 to 74. He had an on-base percentage of 386. He had a slugging percentage of 554 over an 11-year period, and they talk about OPS plus. His OPS plus was 165, higher than Hank Aaron, higher than Willie Mays, higher than Frank Robinson, Willie McCovey, Willie Stargell, Roberto Clemente, Harmon Killebrew, and Carl Yastrzemski. Those guys are all undoubtedly Hall of Famers. And maybe Ryan Braun is also. I wasn't familiar with all of those stats, but those are certainly impressive figures. There's no question about it.
Yeah, like I say, that's going to be his downfall, the PED stuff. Braun also was a Rookie of the Year and an MVP.
How many years did Ryan Braun play?
Offhand, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have that, but I do know those 4 categories. And I've always heard people say, Larry, when somebody says, is so-and-so a Hall of Famer, doesn't matter if you're talking basketball, football, baseball, whatever. If I was to say to you, is so-and-so a Hall of Famer, it's either a quick yes or a quick no. If you have to say, and you have to think about it, no. The answer is no. So,
again, I'd have to look at those numbers. Those are impressive numbers. But, my argument is to be a Hall of Famer in the era that you played, you had to be the best or one of the best. And for that 11-year stretch from 64 to 74, Dick Allen's 162 game averages, he averaged 35 homers a year. He averaged 107 ribbies and 106 runs scored. If you add up the ribbies and runs and it's 200, you're elite. You're special. You are something that other people don't do over an 11-year period. That's what Dick Allen did. Now, I don't know if Ryan Braun is a Hall of Famer, but based on what you told me, he might be. He might be.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. I just wanted to run that by you. I know you wanted to get that out in the open. Your appreciation for Richie Allen Dick Allen getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame, as was announced last night, Sunday night. He'd been on the ballot for I don't know how long, and now they finally had the Veterans Committee, I believe, is what it was. The
Veterans Committee is made up of players, not writers.
Right.
And the players know, Ronnie, like in my profession, I'm a lawyer. The general public doesn't know who the good lawyers are, but the other lawyers do. In your profession, the journalists, we don't know who the real professionals are, but the guys in your profession do. Your peers know. Same in sports. The guys that know are the guys that played either with you or against you. And in my career as a lawyer, I wanted the respect of my peers because they're the ones that know. They're the ones that know. As a coach, probably some of the parents thought I was the worst coach in America, but I want the respect of the other coaches. And that's the only thing that counts in my world. And I'm sure if Dick Allen were here, unfortunately he's not, he'd have a smile on his face because the guys that really know voted him into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Dave Parker got into, and he deserves to be there also.
One guy that I thought that got passed over, I thought, would get in this fashion, and maybe he still will someday, is Tommy John. I believe he had close to 300 wins, pretty close, maybe like 287 or some really high number, if I remember right, unless I was looking at somebody else's numbers. And plus, the ligament surgery named after him, he's responsible for testing the waters on that and being the first guy. And not that should put you in the Hall of Fame, but there's just so many things. He played for a long time. If he was healthy and didn't have that problem, he would have had over 300 wins.
Let me tell you who belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame, my man, and that's Chuck Tanner. Chuck Tanner was a visionary. Mm-hmm. He was ahead of his time in what he did as a baseball manager and in the way he had his teams playing the game. Chuck Tanner's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. Should have been in the Pirates Hall of Fame this year, although the more I thought about it, with them putting Bonds in, they probably made the connection. Okay, you can't have Bonds in without Leland. We'll put them both in at the same time, because they were there at the same time. So I kind of
that's all true, but Tanner had more wins as a Pirate manager, and he won something that Leland never won. That's called the World Series.
Yep, I wrote that column.
I read your column. I'm basically repeating what you said.
Yep. So you are correct. I mean, but the more I thought about it, I guess that's probably why they did it. They probably wanted to tie it in. They were putting Bonds in. All right, let's put Leland in. They kind of go hand in hand and all that stuff.
Well, if Leland doesn't go in at the same time, Bonds might not show up. But let me say something. Bonds belongs because he wasn't a PED user when he was in Pittsburgh.
No.
And he had Hall of Fame numbers as a Pittsburgh Pirate.
Yep. All right.
The difference between Barry Bonds as a Pirate and Dave Parker as a Pirate, and I want you to look this up. Look at Dave Parker's playoff and World Series statistics and compare them to Barry Bonds. When the pressure got so high you couldn't spit, Dave Parker could still spit. My man hit when it counted the most. He did.
Oh, yeah. Barry Bonds did absolutely nothing in the playoffs for the Pirates or the Giants when he made the playoffs. He was about as useless as what's on a bull.
So. Well, he was a little better with the Giants in the World Series. He was a little better. But Dave Parker, look at his numbers. Look at his World Series numbers.
Yeah.
My man, he stood tall.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we went off topic and now we're back on topic. That is going to do it for Tip-Off this week as we are approaching the holiday season, about 2 weeks away from holiday tournaments and things like that. Teams got some big games coming up around the area. As you mentioned, Newcastle plays Beaver Falls Tuesday night. Boys play North Hills on Friday nights. There's some big games coming up, so be sure to get out and see those games, everybody. And Larry and I will be back here on Tip-Off next week, the award-winning Tip-Off, that is. Until then, he's Larry Kelly, and I'm Ron Poniewasz. Thank you for joining, everybody. We'll see you back here next week.
The sun will come up tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun.